Welcome to Encore. Today is our movie day. Our cinema critic Lisa Nesselson is here with us to talk about 12 Years a Slave, the harrowing historical drama which is finally out here in France. We're hearing from the director and his leading man. Also on the show, anime master Hayao Miyazaki signs off a stunning career with The Wind Rises. And a 1970s take on Sleeping Beauty gets a cinematic release once again here in France. Hope you're sitting comfortably. Let's get started. Hello there, Lisa.
Hello.
Very nice to see you. Thanks for coming in to share all your movie thoughts this week. We're going to get started with the very biggest film release of the week, of course. This is a film that some are calling a watershed moment for Hollywood's depiction of a very major part of American history. 12 Years a Slave is the true story of Solomon Northup, a free black man who was kidnapped and sold into slavery in the southern United States in the mid-1800s. It's based on a book that until recently was almost unknown. Here's a look at the film with a few thoughts from star Chiwetel Ejiofor and director Steve McQueen.
I want to ask you what part of the country you come from.
I originate from Canada. I guess where that is.
Oh, I know where Canada is. I've been there myself.
Well, travel for a slave.
Incredible story and autobiography that was, at the same time, very poetically written, full of humility, a very humble account of just trying to explain what happened to him.
It was like dancing with ghosts in a way. The trees bear witness to, you know, all the horrific things that happened there. Sorry, horrific things happened in the most beautiful place.
There we go, Dancing with Ghosts, haunting stuff indeed. Lisa, this film is being tipped for major Oscar success. Is it a winner for you?
Not to be flippant, but the film really could be summed up as freedom good, slavery bad. And most of us knew that, but it's unusual to see the toll that this institution took in terms of brutality, in terms of emotional, physical, what have you.
And such a personal depiction, because we're following a real person who really existed.
Absolutely. And so the story told from within, from his point of view. And also there were very, very few people who were free, were then hijacked, sold into slavery, and lived to tell about it. And this is an educated black man. And one of the unfortunate things, the law of unintended consequences, is this is in 1841. The U.S. government had declared that no more slaves could be imported. And so traffickers had to go find their material somewhere because they had these big sugarcane and cotton plantations to run. Very well acted.
Yeah, plenty of aspects of history that a lot of people simply didn't know about. And I think it was Steve McQueen who said that this book should be as well known as the Diaries of Anne Frank or other first-person accounts of history like that. I have to say, slavery is such a big part of American history, yet so rarely a subject on its own for films. But last year we also had a take on slavery, incredibly different, Django Unchained by Quentin Tarantino. And some people now are saying that 12 Years a Slave is giving Django Unchained a history lesson. Is it fair to compare these two movies?
It's coincidental that we're getting a lot of stories now about this aspect of American history. But Django, of course, is a fantasy, and a revenge fantasy at that. Django does not imagine that he's ever going to be freed. This German gentleman comes along, and that's what happens. And of course, our hero, Solomon Northup, never imagines that he's going to get stolen and sent into the Deep South, and that is what happens to him. So to compare the two, not really fair, but kind of interesting.
Certainly very interesting. Well, we'll move on to another Oscar nominee now with the very last film by a true master of his art. The Wind Rises will be the final movie by Oscar-winning Japanese anime master Hayao Miyazaki. Fans of his earlier works, including Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke and Howl's Moving Castle, will find plenty to enjoy here if the trailer is anything to go by. So we can see there's some of the absolutely beautiful animation that's incontestable, I think. But Lisa, the plot, it's sort of a historical fantasy. Tell us more.
I would say that the plot is less important than the visuals with Miyazaki, because there's these extraordinary landscapes, these dream sequences, but it is in fact based on a real-life individual who was fascinated by flight and flights of fancy, for that matter, and who ended up using his engineering acumen to design what turned out to be a very deadly Japanese airplane that was used in the attack on Pearl Harbor, and also created a lot of damage in kamikaze events. But it's set between the two world wars, and about the fact that Japan is getting kind of bellicose and wants to go to war. And Miyazaki has often been ahead of the curve. He's always had ecological concerns. He practically predicted Fukushima and to an extent also the tsunami. So this is a man who has drawn stories that we need to see. And here is what he had to say about his inspiration for this film.
I was 7 years old after the war. All the young people who were older than I was dreamed of becoming aeronautical engineers. I was already drawing planes, but I only liked those from the 1920s and 1930s. In a Paul Valery poem, there's a verse, "The wind is rising, we must try to live." You have to try to live, and these words still count for me today.
There we go. Hayao Miyazaki speaking there about a childhood love of planes and about poetry. But there have been plenty of critical rumblings in the United States, particularly about this film. Lisa, some people saying it glorifies the inventor of a killing machine. Is that criticism warranted?
I think glorifying is hyperbole. It's put into an extremely bittersweet context. There's also people complaining that there are 8 instances of characters, hand-drawn characters, smoking hand-drawn cigarettes, and that this might give young people the wrong idea. So, of course, depending on what, if you were on the receiving end, you might object, but I don't.
Okay, not a very objectionable film for you. Well, back here in France, the great and the good of the French film industry have been out in their glad rags this week for yet more awards. Lisa, we're talking about the Lumière prizes. Tell us more about them.
Full disclosure, I am a member of the Academy that votes for these prizes, but don't be too impressed, because all that means is that I am a foreign journalist working in France. So every year we vote on the best of French cinema, and I'm delighted that the big winner was Blue is the Warmest Color, which won for Best Film and also Best Director for Abdelatif Kechiche. Most promising, Best Actress for Léa Seydoux, the co-star in that, and also in a film called Grand Central, and of course Adèle Exarchopoulos for Most Promising Newcomer. And this is what she had to say.
As soon as I talk about this film or when I receive awards for it, I get very emotional because it's a film that changed my life. And it's brought a lot of people into my life who are still there today. It's opened many doors for me.
Okay, I think we can all agree that her career is certainly going to go somewhere. Or she's got the potential to, anyway. We'll look a little bit further back into history now. We know that Lisa certainly enjoys the French habit of reissuing older movies. That doesn't happen everywhere in the world, does it, Lisa? This week we're talking about a vintage film from 1973. It's billed as a modern-day version of Sleeping Beauty. Tell us more about Some Call It Loving.
Well, it was directed by a very interesting gentleman, an American man named James B. Harris. He's 85 now, and he started out producing the very young Stanley Kubrick. So Kubrick's legacy is secured. James B. Harris helped make The Killing, which is wonderful, Paths of Glory, which is a masterpiece, and Lolita, which you may have heard of. But hardly anybody's heard of James B. Harris, who directed 5 films, including this one. They're doing a retrospective of his work through the 30th at the French Cinematheque. And this reception to the movie, Some Call It Loving, was perhaps a little different here in Europe. Here's Mr. Harris.
Well, it was sort of like a total opposite between Europe and the United States. The picture was very successful at the Cannes Festival in 1973. It was the Director's Fortnight lead picture. Now, when I opened the picture in New York, it was the complete opposite. For some reason, they just did not understand the film. They didn't think of it as the same way that the French did.
Well, the French do have this habit of heralding things that sometimes it's completely justified and sometimes we really could have lived without. This movie screams late 60s, early 70s. The dialogue is leaden. The premise is that a musician buys a woman who has been asleep for 8 years from a carnival and brings her home to his household where there are tap dancing nuns, voyeurism, a little bit of lesbianism. It's a lot of themes that were probably very shocking in their day. They have not aged well.
Okay, it sounds like a hoot. I like the tap dancing nuns. Thanks for telling us about that one, Lisa. That has brought us to the end of our very own modern day fairy tale for this week. So thanks very much again, Lisa, for telling us about all of this week's films. Thanks very much to you for watching as well. You can, of course, keep up with us and all of our news on our social networks, and you can follow me on Twitter, if you like, at A Cat in Paris. We're going to leave you with a little bit of Some Call It Loving. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.
Is so beautiful and has been asleep for so long. That beautiful girl who has been doomed to go through life asleep, never to awaken. New lecture starts in just 1 minute. Get your tickets. $1 pays the way.
Oh, too bad I don't think you did it.
I'll take care of you later. Oh, now listen, friend, it's customary.
I said I'll tell you later.
Well, I'll be waiting outside. Don't take too long.